Welcome back to Razmafzar TV. Hi, Bede. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Bede, we are going to continue to our journey in Persian archery miniatures, showing different Persian archery. Today, we are going to talk about positions, standing positions, on horseback, sitting positions, and as
Mhm.
well, we are going to say how they released, what they we talked about draws already, where the hand
Yeah,
is, and we are talking about half draw and all these things based on miniatures. Important for us is beat. Again, I repeat because we talked about it, that archery positions, these are what we have composite bows. Persian, okay, also more like Ottoman, doesn't matter. We are not talking about Persian, is not only meant for horseback archery, because I think we talked about it in German. They always talk about it
yeah,
a horse bow, horse bow. They were only meant to
yeah, yeah,
use on horseback, which is, I mean, this is ridiculous. That's the
yeah.
reason we are
I
going to
think,
talk about.
I mean, it's like Horrenbogen. It the they're not just used on horseback. They're not just made of horn. So we've got to kind of separate these ideas out.
Yes,
I prefer to use the term composite bow because it's more precise,
yes,
and it puts them into the spectrum of bows, including modern bows,
yes,
with which they are related, as opposed to a horse bow. Any bow can be used on horseback. Um,
yes,
and as we said in our previous discussions, you've
yes,
got I think in the Northern Wei dynasty, people using longbows from horseback.
yes.
And Japanese yumi are incredibly long. Even when you take the part of the yumi that's below the handle, it's still quite long.
Quite long. Yes,
Manchu bows are
absolutely.
long. I mean, it's so yeah, it's an unfortunate thing that's got into the vernacular over the last 20 years, I suppose. And it's because people are trying to find something useful to say. I mean, in Korean terms, hornbow is probably acceptable because it's called that in Korean.
Yes,
And they're differentiating between a bow reinforced with horn and a bow reinforced with layers of bamboo and things like that. Because they're all composite bows, funnily enough,
yes,
but they're different constructions,
yeah,
and they were emphasizing the part that made it stand out. Whereas to us, I don't think it's as appropriate. Um,
yes, yes,
Self bows, composite bows, things like that. Oh, here we've got some happy people
yes. Okay, I
out
put
killing their
just
neighbors.
one picture, which is using horse as a position on horseback, shooting on horseback, as we
Yep.
can see it in these miniatures. So we start with horseback archery.
There's something important to note about this style of see the most forward archer, the one closest to the viewer. You can see his heel is down
Yes,
in his stirrups. You see this more often in European horsemanship, but in Iran, because they often used relatively narrow
mhm,
treaded stirrups, this
yes,
is quite common. Plus the fact that in this period, heels weren't as common on boots, but still. So what he's doing is he is literally standing in the saddle.
yes, yes,
Um, his legs are not quite straight, but that's because you've got to clasp the horse.
yes,
He's you depending now. In this case, it looks he's leaning forward, so you use the pommel of the saddle to stabilize you.
yes,
Sometimes you lean back, um,
yes,
say when doing some of the lance work.
yes,
Um, so that there's a kind of variation in stance on a horse. You notice quite a few of the people are leaning forward over the horse's neck.
yes,
Um, this is not uncommon
mhm,
because when your your hips, you think of your hips being directly across the saddle and the saddle's going that way. But in, say, Mongolian riding, it's quite normal to rotate your hips and put one buttock on the saddle.
yeah,
And so you're actually twisted a bit in the saddle, and that gives you an advantage for leaning forward.
mhm,
And these are Timurid paintings of affection. And so they had a lot more ways of being in a saddle than say we do nowadays because and I'm only talking about Western horsemanship here, and I don't mean American cowboy horsemanship, which is a whole different area. but say European, um, British, whatever,
Yeah.
where the saddle has minimal support for the horseman,
Mhm.
no pommel, no cantle. So therefore, you can't do these things easily. I mean, really good horsemen can, um,
Mhm.
because they can stand in their stirrups and balance without any support at all. But in
Mhm.
reality, in warfare, particularly if you're wearing armor, as these people are, you probably need a bit more support.
Yeah.
And that standing in the stirrups is, if in the Arab manuals, they're clearly two sorts of ideas about this. One group says, no, you should never do it because you've lost contact with your horse. And the other group says you've got to stand in the stirrups and lean slightly forward to get the
Yes.
proper posture for shooting.
Yes. And
Um,
Adab al-Harb al-Shujaa also mentions it standing in stirrups in Persian manuscript. Zafarname mentions it standing in stirrup. A number of Persian manuals also.
yeah, I think from, not just the literary thing, but from the when you look at the design of the saddles too, because some of these miniatures are almost like design books on how you're going to put your saddle together.
Yes.
Um, they're designed for that. There is a thing that's noticeable in virtually all Persian miniatures is the height of the stirrups is always in relation to the barrel, the horse,
Yes.
its chest
Yes.
and belly area. It's
Yes.
not designed for the man. So you don't see, like in European paintings, people's feet hanging that far below
Yes. Yes.
a horse's belly. In Persian miniatures, the except for donkeys, to show that they know that you can do this, people are always shown with their foot more or less level with the horse's belly. Sometimes in a big horse, it's a bit above it. And that's because they're not sitting right down on their forks.
You mentioned
Uh,
donkey, jackass. Why? Could you just give us the difference between the two?
well, there's two things that people rode. One is a donkey, which is a subspecies, an equus species, and the
Mhm.
other is a hybrid between a horse and a donkey,
Mule.
which is a mule.
Yes.
Now, the kind of classic folklore about mules is they're very stubborn and all that. They're not necessarily. I've only, I've only been up close to a few mules. I'm not an expert on it, but generally speaking, they've got greater stamina.
Yeah.
They're tougher, and they'll eat worse food than a horse and be able to survive on it. So mules were quite popular
Mhm.
for certain things, and you'll see in certain societies,
Yeah.
like if you were a cleric, you were a imam or something like that, you would ride a mule
Yes, they do.
because it was considered to be the right kind of animal for you to ride. It was more, I'm going to say sedate. That's not what I really mean, but it's not flashy like a horse is.
But what was the
And you're a
reason they did it? What was the reason? It's true because in Persian miniatures, when they show Hazrat Ali, when they show also other religious figures, they're always riding a mule. What was the reason?
I think it probably predates Islam, and I think the idea is that a religious person shouldn't be showy. They
Oh,
should be restrained
yes.
and under control, and I think the mule was the animal that they thought was best for that. Um, Donkeys, basically, as if you're poorer. The classic Turkish stories about Nasruddin Hoxha
Yes.
with his riding around on his mule with his giant turban. I mean, his donkey. So donkeys are if you're poor. Mules have to be crossbred. They have to be trained and everything like that. I mean, mules are still being bred in quite a few countries, and they have their back is slightly different shape from a horse for saddling and that, and they've got an entirely different temperament. So you
Mules
don't charge into
themselves cannot breathe anymore?
no. Almost all mules are sterile,
Is
and
it by
there's two
nature
types
they're
of
sterile?
mule. Sorry,
By nature they are sterile, or is it
yeah, because the donkey and the horse aren't close enough together to produce a fertile match.
okay?
In genetically are not close enough related. I think very rarely that there is a one
Okay.
that's born fertile. The other
Okay.
thing is you can have two kinds. You can have one where the father is a horse and the mother is a donkey, and you can have one where the father is a donkey and the mother is a horse,
Okay.
and they're different.
In
When they
which
breed them,
sense they're
they look.
different?
Sorry,
You mean in which sense they're different? They're different in
they're
size,
different shapes,
shape.
different sizes. They have in English they have different names. I think I can't be precise. It's Jenny or Henny or something like that for the female for the um,
Yeah.
female horse male donkey cross, and it's mule for the
So
male
mule
horse
doesn't have a
female donkey.
gender. Did I understand you correctly?
I look. I don't know. Being sterile doesn't mean you don't have
No,
gendered
no, it doesn't mean that. You're
features.
right. You're
Yeah,
right. Doesn't
it
mean
just
that.
means that you can't breed.
You can't breathe.
And so I really don't know. But there is clearly a difference. You notice in Persian miniatures, they're so precise that if they show a donkey and sometimes a mule, they will only show um, two horseshoe nails, which means four nails for the whole horseshoe.
Yes,
Whereas
true.
if it's a horse, there's always three visible, which means it's six nails.
Do you remember we were talking about Khavaran and all of them had horse armor, but the donkey didn't have?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
remember? Yeah.
yeah. Again, donkeys, they didn't ride donkeys into war. Weirdly enough, donkeys have developed a new use in modern times because apparently they're very good for protecting other animals from wild dogs and things like that. They're quite once if you bring them up with a flock of sheep or something, then the sheep is their family, and anything that comes to annoy the sheep, the donkey will attack. So that
A donkey
I
can
mean,
fight?
yeah, you
I
wouldn't think,
didn't
but
know that.
apparently,
Okay. I didn't
yeah,
know.
donkeys are quite. They've got a lot of talents that people don't know about.
So they're
They
much
can be
more
quite
courageous than horses are.
well. Horses probably are very high strung because of breeding. I believe that horses in Mongolia are much more likely to defend themselves than, say, um, thoroughbred horses or something like that. It's interesting that the Przewalski horse, the wild horse, will actually attack things
Yeah,
quite
yeah, that's
happily,
true. I
and
forgot that.
whereas normal horses rear up and all that,
Yeah,
Przewalski horses can kick straight forward. This is what I've read, so it might not be true, but can kick straight forward with their forehooves and they used to raid um, domestic horse herds
yeah,
to kidnap the females,
yeah.
and they would take out a normal horse stallion without any effort at all. And they're quite small; they're about 13 hands high, so 1.3 meters at the withers. So yeah, it's domestic horses are a bit calmer in one way and a bit more excitable in another. Uh, but a horse can really do a lot of damage if it takes it into its mind that it's going to have a fight with you. Um,
Of course, of course.
I mean, I think horse riding has the highest death rate of any sport.
Yeah, 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 definitely. It's very
It's
dangerous.
not the horses killing people; it's people falling off horses.
Yeah.
Height can be a danger.
So you see, for example, let's start with here. They're in a standing position, shooting down at the dragon, but you see,
Yeah,
they're using this composite bow, not on horseback.
yeah. Well, so the interesting thing is that they're drawing up close to the eye, which
Yeah.
some of the manuscripts say that the reason that the Abrakesh, the Isfahani draw, is good is because it's good for shooting down at things.
Yes.
You've got, you're shooting down that way.
Yeah.
Other people say it's very hard to aim with, but maybe if you're close enough, it doesn't matter. If you're on a city wall shooting down at somebody at the foot, that could be the city wall could be 20 meters tall.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
So maybe it's a lot harder. But this circumstance, when you've got a dragon to shoot at and he's really close, I think it's probably quite practical.
Yeah.
Um, I get the impression from some of the people drawing short that they're not comfortable in that stance. That this is the artist saying, "Look, this is difficult. This is something different." Um, I don't know. I'm looking at the hand position. The archer, the left most archer with the blue um, camis or captain or whatever he's wearing,
Mm.
he's got more Changali Buzz
Yeah.
draw.
Yeah.
It is you can see three fingers, so
Yeah.
the index finger is behind the thumb out of the way, and the thumb is bent and turned down. The
Yeah.
next person has his hand more in like raised up position, more like the Korean draw. Yeah. Um, so I'm not saying that the artist was being really specific
Yeah.
about how they were holding the bow, but I think he had a good concept. And so the postures of their draw, they're just standing normally and just shooting down. I mean, the angle they're shooting down at is like 45 degrees from the horizontal. So they're shooting down at quite a steep angle. That's not easy to do.
Yeah.
And some people notice some people have just rotated and they've got the full shoulder engagement, like the people on the right. And other people are kind of got their elbows up and their bow arms
Yeah.
down.
True. True.
So the artist is actually looking at real things. I think
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Mhm. I don't want to change the subject, but because we were talking about it before, look at the horse armor.
Yeah, the champagne's really good. The horse has got a white muzzle, which
Yes,
makes it look as though
exactly.
he's got a moustache or something. Again, he didn't have to do that, but it does separate the horse's head from the. Otherwise, the breaststrap and that would get mixed up. Now here we've got. Oh, this is really interesting
You see that
because
now? Standing
yeah,
position, guys. Again. Yeah.
yeah. So there's we'll start from the person on the right who's just shot, and he has the big follow through on that.
Yes.
Notice he's lifted the heel
Yeah.
of his
Here. Yes.
trailing foot. Now I don't know. You can't tell whether that's his left or right foot because it's just not that detailed. I'm guessing it's his right foot, and as he's shot, he's lifted the heel off. Now this is in some of the manuals. They do talk about that. Um, and the big bold gesture of throwing your arm back, I think sometimes it can help. Um, I don't think it's really good if you're doing target archery because it throws you off. You don't always get it right. But I think in some, individual shots when you're putting a really lot of effort, then I think it becomes quite a natural thing to do.
Yeah.
But
True.
that's actually quite a good painting. I mean, it's a bit hard to tell. His hand is a little bit screwed up, the drawing hand, but that can happen. Now on the left hand side, we've got one archer at full draw and one archer. He's just knocked his arrow on the bow. It's not even down onto his hand. That's quite interesting, and I might comment about that. And then we've got in the middle. There's an archer you see from the other side with his arrow
Yeah.
knocked on the bow, getting ready to draw.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the top man. This is what we were talking about before when we were talking about archery paintings. Whoever was who drew the arrows was not the person that drew the figure because the arrow's not quite in the right place at the bow hand end. In the front, he's doing eyebrow draw,
Yeah.
which normally you would think is the wrong draw to shoot upwards if one manuscript is right. But on the other hand, if that's what you learned, that's how you shoot all the time. Um, but he's got a perfectly straight bow arm, and it's kind of locked into his shoulder. Um, I think that's not a bad painting. I mean, there are things that you would argue about. The string isn't on the tips of the bow; it's halfway down the ear, but that happens. Uh, these people are the bottom man. That he's got the arrow at an angle to the bow, and we discovered on some old film from Mongolia that when you were shooting with really long feathers and you didn't want to get them ruffled up, you knocked them and then lifted them off your hand and turned them out slightly before you started to draw the bow, and then dropped them down when you've gone past where the feather was. Now, in Persian paintings, usually the longest fletching is only as long as the brace height of the bow, so they never have that problem.
Yeah.
So this may be just a guy that's just knocking wildly because he's excited. But it's interesting to note that the in these paintings, I'm just trying to find out.
Hmm.
Looking at them, they look as though the feathers may be about that long,
Yeah.
maybe 4 to 6 inches long, which would be very comfortable with those
Hmm.
bows. There'd be no problem with it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you see the middle person who
Hmm.
we see from the back, basically, and we can only see his arms.
Yeah.
He's knocked the arrow. He's just getting ready to draw.
Yeah.
Notice that he's there. Everybody's shooting up in the air.
Yeah.
He's already elevated his hand. He's not starting shooting this way and then turning.
Yeah.
He's starting to shoot here and
Yes.
pulling down,
Yes.
which is makes sense. I think if you're shooting really quickly, and I don't mean shooting a succession of arrows quickly, I mean you're drawing and shooting all in one motion. Sometimes it's better to start here like that. I'm trying to mimic him, and then push out and shoot all in one go. I think you get potentially a faster arrow. You don't aim as well, but if you're shooting at a lot of people high up, or a dragon, or a whatever, depends what the circumstances are. Running and shooting.
Yes.
As anybody knows who tries it, if you practice for about an hour, you can actually, starting from a person who's never done it, you can actually get quite good at it. You've got to already be able to knock and draw the arrow without looking at it. That's important.
Yes.
Um,
Good exercise.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but from then on, it's not bad. If I could convince people at my archery club that we could run across parallel to the targets and shoot one target after the other, I think we'd have a lot of fun. Uh, People are open to new ideas. Maybe it'll work. Uh, he's got nice high heel boots on, very nice boots. Running in high heels and shooting a bow. There's a man showing off.
Very nice. Yeah. Just to see
Yeah.
another position. Look at this position, guys.
Yeah. So this is good. This is
Yeah.
again. It's hard to say. I'm going to suggest that it's right leg advanced and
Yes.
look. Sorry, left legged. Oh no! Wait a minute.
No, it's right leg advance.
He's shooting left-handed, isn't he?
Yes.
So what's he doing here?
It's right.
Is he So if I'm shooting left-handed,
Yeah.
would I advance my right leg? Yes, I would.
Yeah.
Again, he's lifting the heel of the back leg, whichever leg it is, and he's just released. So that's part of his follow through.
Yeah.
In one of the Persian manuscripts, one of the early ones we translated, they talk of um, drawing back the front leg and lifting the heel
Yes. They
just
do.
as you shoot, as the last part of the draw. This is a different thing, but it's the same thing that people had a number of different ways of handling this.
Yes.
And I mean, this may, and we've got to remember, in Persian painting, the leg position is a little bit like in Egyptian painting in that it's not meant to be anatomically perfect. It's just meant to show movement or stability or whatever. It's a language of a visual language.
Yes. Look
This,
at
on the other
this.
hand,